yet another video of Compare Nation. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, polio. How did India eradicated polio? Polio was a dreadful disease which used to capture the young children and take away their ability to walk, run and basically live a normal human life. Polio has been diagnosed in early 50s in the Western world, and even in India, the cases goes back till the British eras. So polio has been around in India right from the time of British era. And World Health Organization basically took a note of this disease and started a campaign in late 60s and early 70s. In India, the vaccination against polio started in around 1972 with expanded program on immunization, which is also known as EPI. And using this program, by 1999, it covered around 60% of infants giving 3 doses of OPV. Going little back in time, in 1985, the Universal Immunization Program, again UIP, was launched in India to cover all the districts of the country. Because prior to 1985, this OPV vaccine was only available in cities and prime locations, and it was more of a choice for parents to give that vaccine or not. There was not much of a awareness. There was not much of a uh, awareness in the people about how this vaccine helps people or helps kids to fight this dreadful disease. So in 1985, government started a campaign to fight a polio, and the vaccine actually started reaching to all the taluks, all the districts, all the major cities, minor cities, but not in the villages. And that is where in 1995 government found out that with putting all the efforts that has been done to eradicate polio is actually not giving us 100% result, because there are some parts of the countries, there are some parts of the, especially the rural part of India, where vaccine is actually not reaching. And that is where in 1995, government started a drive, which is preventive pulse polio. In Hindi, it was basically known as a pulse polio mohim, and this was very, very effective. Now, when this pulse polio mohim was basically planned, it had a very, very clear outlined objectives. Number one is 100% infants should be vaccinated with this OPV. Number two, in case if any acute facet paralysis, which is also in medical term called as AFP, is to be reported, then it has to be reported in time, and stool specimen of that baby needs to be collected within 14 days. And there was a special outbreak response immunization ORI team, okay, which used to conduct ORI as early as possible and report that data back to the government. Then whatever the vaccination drive that was conducted in that district, it has to go through a high level of surveillance. And this surveillance basically include the vaccinations dates, vaccinations reach, whether the vaccination is stored at the right temperature, etc. And there was a health officers appointed at each district level who used to go in each taluks of that district and ensure that this is taking place. And also performance of a good mop-up operation where polio has disappeared. Now here, basically, if you remember the ads that used to come in from 1995 to 1997 on the television, that is Doordarshan and Metro, the ads was more focusing on how India as a country wants to eradicate polio, and there was a lot of ad during the prime time between 7 to 10 or 7 to 9:30 that time, that used to get aired on the national television. The whole objective of that was to get this thought uh, to every Indian that we as a nation is fighting against this disease, and everybody's involvement is required. And that definitely had an impact on everybody. Everybody was aware about polio. I remember I was in school, even I was also aware about, what is this disease, etc. Then, when government started with it, government took a very, 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 very methodological approach in this Mohim. The first one was to set up booths in all part of the country. Now, this was not possible without involving your local body, local leaders, and that is where government took bottom to top approach. And to get these booths set up, all the district magistrate, health officers reached out to the sarpanch of the villages, to reach to the pradhans of the village, because that is where the most help was required, because that is where the vaccine was not reaching to the rural India uh, in the previous Mohims what government has ran. So the booths was set up in almost all the villages, or at least one in two or three villages, where people can go on a specific date and vaccinate their kid on a certain day. Then the second challenge was because this vaccine needed to be stored at a certain temperature. And when you are talking about it needed to be stored at a certain temperature, you need a lot of storage capacity with a cooling facility. So that is where government came up with one very brilliant idea, where each district was equipped with a storerooms which has ability to store vaccine at its recommended temperature. At the same time, these vaccines needed to reach to the villages, and that is where first time in India government used a small cold boxes, and these cold boxes was basically given to the volunteers who used to basically pick up these vaccines from the district, and they will go to that respective villages. Now, obviously, there was a time frame that was involved, and that is where these volunteers will go every morning, early morning, to the districts, pick up the vaccines that they need, go back to the villages, and by evening finish all the vaccination, and then again come back next day, report the vaccines that was used. Then the vaccines which was not used cannot be reused because it must have lost the temperature, etc. And that's where those were reported back, those were submitted back in the district storeroom, and the new vaccines were taken. So this was a very efficient way, because all the previous mohims of the governments basically focused on the parents taking up their kid, going to the vaccination camp. It might be 4 villages, 5 villages, or it might be in district. Here it allowed these medical workers to go in each house and give that vaccine, and that has given a very good result. So this was one very interesting fact. Second, arranging employees, volunteers, and vaccines. Now here, arranging employees, all the volunteers or all the employees, let's look at employees. So the employees were basically from the health department, which acted. Some of the government school teachers were trained to give these vaccines. And when it comes to volunteers, the lot of school kids who were 8, 9, and 10 standard were basically given the responsibility to go in each house and record how many kids are there who are below 8 years, below 7 years. I was one of the volunteer. I remember doing this from 95 and 96 year, where I used to go, me and my 4 friends used to go at a location that was given to us, and we will list out, and we will next day when we come to school, we used to give it to our teacher, and then that used to go to database. So that excellent database management that was planned and executed by government officials has also helped government to basically order vaccines that are required for the next drive. Then one more thing that was done for the first time in that period was ensuring there is a vaccine vial monitor on each vaccine vial. Now this was never done before, and by this the the medical staff could know, okay, how much vaccine I need, whether I can use this vaccine or not. So earlier this was done more by looking at the records, looking at the store log, etc. But this was the first vaccine where the vaccine vial monitor was used. Second, the next point what government planned very well is basically they declared 2 days in a year as a vaccine, as a immunization day. I remember that one day was in October and one day was in January, and those 2 days were celebrated, and all the government machinery in the health department used to work towards getting most number of kids vaccinated on these 2 days. And this actually helped government to order the vaccines, to distribute the vaccines to the medical suppliers, to the medical workers to ensure there is a least number of vaccine wastage also, because the all effort was given on these 2 days. So that was very interestingly planned. Then, after the vaccination drive, the next step that was done by the local bodies was identifying the missing children. So basically, you remember some time back I mentioned that we used to prepare the list of the kids who are below 8 years, 7 years, 5 years. So somebody at the medical department of the district will look at the records and will find out which are the kids who have not listed on the vaccination list, but it was listed by the data provided by the volunteers. And this is where the next drive used to happen, where the medical workers used to go to these houses and used to give vaccinations. So these kind of very minute and well executed efforts have gone in, and that's why that drive from 1995 to 1999 was very successful. This is how India defeated polio and absolutely eradicated from its border. We all, as Indians, should be proud of our all medical staff, health ministry, all the volunteers, and most importantly, all the parents who believed in government's mission and ensured that their kids took a polio vaccination. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and share this video. If you like this kind of content, then please subscribe our channel.